This morning we begin a week-long salute to Johnny Carson and his legacy as king of late-night television. He walks away from The Tonight Show this coming Friday after a 30-year reign. 7 presidents of the United States have come and gone in that time, but Johnny's been a constant. He has served as social commentator, comedian, interviewer, old friend, and nightlight to generations of Americans. And in an almost incredible display of staying power, he leaves with his throne, his popularity, and his crown still firmly in place. Our series kicks off this morning with a look back at the history of late-night TV. Johnny didn't invent it, but he did transform it.
From New York, The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson.
For most of us, it's difficult to remember that there really was a time BC, before Carson that is, but late-night TV as we know it today had its beginnings in 1950.
Here is the fellow who's in charge of the show, and Jerry Lester is his name. Just call me Beanbag.
Jerry Lester made Broadway Open House the most talked-about show of the early TV era. This rare kinescope of the show has not been seen since it was first broadcast in 1950.
Sentimental music coming out of the night, saying, you're the one, you're the one. Can't you see that when you're near, I hear...
The show featured music, comedy, and a young actress named Dagmar who kept viewers up way past their bedtime.
There goes the ulcers.
First broadcast locally in New York, Broadway Open House was broadcast nationally in 1952.
From New York City, the National Broadcasting Company presents Tonight.
It wasn't until 1954 that a show called Tonight was born. The format and the tone of the controlled mayhem were the creations of 32-year-old Steve Allen.
This is kind of a mild little show. I don't expect you to say, boy, what a program. No, just look at it and, you know, decide in about a week what you think about it. You know, it's not as spectacular. It's going to be kind of a monotonous, I think.
Let's go back to 1953.
Okay. Oh, you mean in a certain sense. I'm sorry. All right.
Here he is, the great El Clumsy.
It has nothing to do with modesty, but I've always been a little bit uncomfortable taking compliments for having created the talk show. But I honestly assume and believe that a million years ago there was some guy sitting on a tree stump in the jungle someplace, and on the fallen log just to his right there were a couple of other guys that stopped by and sat there for a minute, and he was talking to them. I imagine 3 men altogether do not sit silently. He probably said, "Did you catch your fish this morning?" And they probably said, "Yeah, 2, but one of them got away and my wife stole the other one," or whatever. So that is all there is to a talk show. I'm quite serious.
But Steve wasn't serious too often. One of his trademark routines was reading the letters to the editor from the New York Daily News.
The solution to this problem is to send these savage rock and roll punks to another country. Signed, Elvis Presley.
When Steve Allen left The Tonight Show to bring his zaniness to primetime, NBC executives had a difficult time finding a replacement. But after a number of false starts, they found a savior in 1957. His name, Jack Paar.
Well, we have another good group tonight. Before I go, I want to take one Hollywood audience and dip you all in bronze. Take you back to New York.
Parr's mercurial personality was a huge hit with audiences. He walked off the show several times in disputes with censors and NBC management. And each time he returned, the ratings went up.
Many people say, well, what kind of a show is this going to be? And the thought occurred to me as I was walking out here. You know, I really don't know.
After Parr left for primetime, NBC had another host headache. But over at ABC, there was a popular MC who had a game show called
Who Do You Trust? Now here's the star of our show, Johnny Carson.
welcome to Who Do You Trust? We have another tie to break on the show.
In 1962, Johnny accepted an offer to host The Tonight Show.
And now, here's Johnny.
His monologue gave America a nightly dose of current events and political humor. When LBJ picked up some puppies by the ears in 1964, Johnny was right on his case.
Dog lovers get incensed, you know, if you do anything, and he pulled the ears a little bit of those beagles, you know, a couple of days ago. And the dog lovers from all over the country are really giving him a time. You heard from Israel, you got a letter from Israel today. Israel, yeah, they thought they said bagels.
But many critics think Johnny was at his best, playing off his guests.
Do you understand all of the jokes?
Some of them.
Well, you fit right in. You've never seen this show before?
Well, when I was up vomiting and all that stuff.
You get this question all the time, so forgive me for asking it. If there is a secret for becoming old or living to be 103, is there any secret at all? Nothing you do to keep in shape?
Never smoked.
Never smoked?
Never drank.
Oh, that's 2 out of 3.
We'll go into detail tomorrow about all of Johnny's reign, but suffice it to say there aren't many who can say they've had greater staying power than Carson.
Steve Allen started, it was great, Jack Barr was great, and Johnny Carson, you know, all great. Oh, but they're all gone, I'm still here. I don't believe in dying. I died in Altoona, I died in Schenectady. I don't do anything that's been done before. Dying has been done, it's been kicked.
But when it comes to dying, few knew better than Johnny Carson's rivals over the years. Johnny's popularity has proven fatal to a whole slew of late-night shows.
Live from Hollywood, The Joey Bishop Show.
The Pat Sajak Show.
It's The Late Show, starring Joan Rivers.
Nightlife, starring David Brenner.
Starting in 1982, David Letterman hit on a winning formula, and by following Johnny, a winning time slot. Of all Johnny's competition over the years, Arsenio Hall has probably fared the best, but even his ratings are only 2/3 of Johnny's.
Arsenio!
Last year, Saturday Night Live had a field day satirizing Johnny and Arsenio.
This is fun. This is wild stuff. You see this, Ed? You just do this. You go whoop whoop whoop, and they go crazy. It's just wild, weird stuff.
Yes.
Tomorrow morning, we'll look back over Johnny's 30 years on The Tonight Show. And Brian's back in a moment with some taste treats from the Silver Palette. But first, this is Today on NBC.